think that that's partly what we're benefiting from as well is blended perspective here. So the teams we have here are quite often paired with teams somewhere else around the globe. And sometimes those teams may be based in locations, like you said, perhaps Chicago, New York, Singapore, London. These places where historically some of that industry knowledge has always sat. And I think, we sort of take it for granted, well, that's the place we should go to pick up people to help us grow our business in those spaces. But actually what we found is that, number one, we're able to start perhaps training and imparting some of that street knowledge, as we call it, in those places, over to people in other countries where perhaps those activities don't necessarily exist, or they're not in a concentrated center like they are, like one big city, everything's there. And what we found actually is that perspective of someone looking at it from the outside, almost looking in. And I've seen amazing conversations between teams where, some of the staff in other locations look at the, whether it's a financial market or an industry or a business in one way, and someone in a different country looks at it in a different way. And it makes the first person stop and think, actually, how should we approach this? And having that perspective is what gives us this sort of, well, for one, it's challenge about how we do things. It's a very rounded view on our businesses and how we're going to grow things as well. So it's been a huge part of our strategy, I think, but almost not by design, I would say. As you mentioned, we perhaps came here for cost. I would easily say we found an awful lot more than a cost benefit. We found a real pool of people that have significantly grown our business, and it's been the most pleasant surprise for us as a group. And I think it's one we recognise, and long may it continue. I think our strategy in India is certainly to keep on pushing areas that are overperforming. I mean, that's always going to be our strategy as a company. If we think a group is adding value to our clients, to our business, that's something we're going to naturally want to double down on. We're going to want to make sure those individuals are in key locations, in key business lines. I think over time, the strategy will evolve to certainly see us have global leaders in places like Bangalore and Pune. That's definitely the next step in that strategy, I think. And certainly from some of the teams that I oversee, operationally, they've had a good journey here where they've certainly sat close to technology groups we have here, and they've had some very good back and forth.